What's up, everybody? Welcome to another. I guess let's do this. It's supposed to be a Let's Talk Live, but Shadows. I was gonna have Shadowfox on, but it looks like he's gonna be a little bit busy. So, just gonna be me chilling, just playing some stuff. Probably just go through some random games tonight. Um, as you can see, I was playing a little bit of Soul Calibur 2. You know what? Screw it. Let's just jump on Soul Calibur. This is actually my favorite Soul Calibur. Well, not this version. Y'all know which version is my favorite. But since Bandai Namco want to pretend like they don't know how to be nice or play fair, this is what we got. And I know there's probably some more to the story, but I really wish they would have put the GameCube version on the Wii U or at least the Switch now, anyway. Since they love to go back, since Bandai loves to go back and port games over now that they're years later, you know. But yeah, this was actually one of my favorites. One of my favorite games in the sixth gen. The GameCube version had Link on it, and y'all know if you know anything about me, you already know how that goes. So Link in a Soul Calibur game, and I'm wondering, and I always wondered like why they never went back to it, or at the very least, they since they didn't want to put since Bandai didn't want to put another Soul Calibur game on a Nintendo console, why didn't they just make a weapons based fighter with the Zelda characters? Zelda has enough characters where they can actually make a actual Soul Calibur esque game on that console. I just never understood why they would do that. But yeah, the rest of the games outside of maybe 4, because I played 3, I didn't care for 3 all that much. 4 was actually pretty fun. I liked Algo. But 5 and 6 was just like, okay, this is either this needs a reset or they need to stop or take a break or do something. They need to figure something out, like what Samurai Showdown did in 2019. Do something along those lines or something, because 5 and 6 just were not good in my opinion. Six pissed me off. I was mad I bought that game. I was really upset I bought that. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite fighters, and the GameCube version is the best version, hands down. And that GameCube controller, say what you want to, that was a good controller for a fighting game, in my humble opinion. So yeah, I like this game, but I don't like the fact that I don't get to play with Link on here on this version. Anyway, I just found it real funny that Sony and Microsoft could get versions of the game, but Nintendo couldn't. When Bandai knew the Wii U inside and out because they helped it. They helped with a couple games on the Wii U. So I'm like, it's not like you can't say you don't know the hardware. That's not it. You can't say you don't have a kit. That's not it. So what was the other reason? And nobody ever really said, although I can probably think of what one reason would be. Oh well. So let's see. I have not played in a while, so I probably do need to reacclimate myself. So you know what that means? Survival. And since we're doing this, let's see. I'll go with my personal favorite. Where's Taki? I do not like her. I like this suit better. Oh wow, y'all just gonna throw me with Cervantes off the rip. Okay. All right. Okay. Ring out time. I wonder who would win in a fight, Cervantes or Jack Sparrow. Just for like, you know, ah. Oh no, you don't. Okay, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Hey, got him. All right, cool. I'm gonna be scared for a second there, but I'm missing. Okay. There's a dang charade off the rip. Oh snap! I ain't know I could pull that move. Okay. I didn't know I could do that move. I've been missing that. Okay, so I was trying to do the kick, but they, but oh god, not Maxi. Whew. Okay, that went better than I thought it was gonna go. Guys, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I forgot what the block button is, so I know I'm on borrowed time here. Oh, that's the block button. Okay. Ah, Yun Sung. What's up, Tone? Tone, how you doing, man? I mean, I'm hoping that one day, since they're since they're clearly bringing Tales of Symphonia over to Switch, they could probably do this. Okay. Oh, come on, poke game, get the poke game going, get the poke game going. Always with the dominatrixes. Reason number 835 why I hate Ivy in this game. Okay, that wasn't too bad for somebody that hadn't played in like a few years. 200 gold. All right, let's see if I can still. Let's see. Who else I used to like on this game? There was Taki. There was. I did used to play with. I did used to play with. I used to play with Talon. She was all right. You know what? I never played the PlayStation version, so let's see how Hiachi stacks up. What's a different costume though? Okay, I'll go with that one. That one was much better. Yoshimitsu. You gonna tell your Hihachi to repent? I don't think you understand what life is, bro. I used to love doing the whole ring out and then you ring out right behind them. That was always funny to me. Okay. Do they have his? Okay, hold on one second. No, I was hoping I could get like the. I need to see what his move set is because this game would have came out what around the time four came out, so probably the same as four, probably, probably. Hey, look, it's everybody's favorite fake Sophia. Oh, snap! Nice little dodge there. And the juggle still works. The juggle still works. Everybody's favorite samurai. Okay, that was not even called for. Yeah, fake Hamaru. I kind of wish they had his business suit from three on there. I kind of wish they had the business suit just to, get that business suit flavor. I guess I did not. I don't like Astaroth, and I know good and well you just did not just hit me with that axe like you gonna do some. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. Okay, it's called a block button. Jay, use it. Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, for some reason your heartbeat on the outside of your chest just doesn't really work for me. It's kind of scary, and I'm pretty much, you know, very afraid of that. That was not even close to cool. So, all right. So Trina, you said what? Young Song. Okay, let's go with Young Song next. Then let's see how far I can get with Young Song. I know I did not like playing with Cervantes. Do I have Young Song? Yeah, I do. All right, we'll go with that. Versus Killick. Kind of glad this never got the whole like what is a rematch where they try to update the models as well. Okay, I do remember that move. Oh, I remember why I liked him. His mid game is actually pretty dope. His mid game is fire. That's why I liked him. Oh, I hate this dude. See, that ain't even close. Get off the stage. Get off. Get off. Get off. I can't stand Voldo. Raphael. That for some reason they made it to a vampire in one of them games. Oh, that didn't knock him off? There we go. Disrespectful. Okay, that had to hurt the whole split thing. I'm like, I wouldn't have did it like that because that just looked painful. Here we go. No, 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 no. Go to the edge. Go to the edge. You know what? That wasn't even. Okay. I was trying to go with the whole sword thing and just didn't. I kind of missed the whole sword thing. I just realized Yoon looks like Ryan. He actually does, don't he? Yoshimitsu. Okay, nice dodge. Nice dodge. Got him. Ring out. Love ring outs. I love ring outs. Okay. Well, at least his heart ain't out this time. Now, see if I had Link, this would have already been over. ah. Whoa, they son. Whoa, they son. Got him. Nah, you broke a sweat because I'm over here sweating. So yes, you broke a sweat. Stop acting. Stop talking tough. Nightmare. 6 feet stomping. Ah, really, bro? Off the rip? Okay, so I'm just gonna have to throw you off then. I see. Oh, he perfect did me. I mean, I know a doctor that could probably take a look at that arm. I mean, it's kind of nasty. You know, it kind of looks kind of disturbing. Yeah, I don't care. So Yun Song, hey, got 300 gold this time. Not bad. Actually, still don't mind the character models on this. Go figure. Let's see. There's one more person I do want to play as on this one. Then I'll probably do what I normally do and jump over to something else like Crazy Taxi or something. Let's see. Who is it? Nah, nah, no, no. Is it Kill It? You know what? I'll try Kill It. I will say this. I think the first two games of this series was actually the best two. Soul Calibur and Soul Calibur 2 were actually the best two in my opinion. Oh, snap is blonde Maxi. I wonder why they always start out in Egypt. Oh well. Hey, look, kids, it's a giant eyeball. Okay, you know what? That wasn't even close to fair or right. Okay. And a ring out. The ring outs always come in handy. Okay, I missed the last hit of that combo, but that wasn't too bad. I don't think. Hey, what's up, Shadow? Ah, wrong thing. Okay, hold on, hold on. There we go. All right, Cervantes, that wasn't even right or fair. Wow! Oh, snap! Ow! 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 Move! 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 All right, there we go. We can get some space. Got him! Got him! Got him! Got him! I ain't got that much life. I'm probably not gonna make. And what? Okay, now nah, okay. Huh. Come on, come on.
Yeah, he don't.
Okay. Maybe I missed the move, and I think I did. Because I was trying to do the unblockable, and I missed it. Oh well, that kind of sucks for me.
Still a great game.
Hey, what's up, Shadow?
What's going on? Yeah, having technical issue. That and I completely forgot that I have the Xbox One and Series X are in another room, and it probably would not be beneficial for me to remote into it and play a fighting game. So I won't be doing that tonight.
Okay.
Unless you just want to see footage of me running through Xenoblade, which will have massive spoilers.
We probably don't need to do that. So yes, Yin Yan, Ivy spanked me. Ivy in this game is unfair.
But I mean, but
no, she's unfair.
You enjoy being beat by Ivy, though.
No, I don't. Actually, I don't.
Oh, well, I do.
I ain't into that freaky mess. I ain't into that freaky mess. Damn that. Let's see.
Playing with her is a lot of fun though in this game.
Yeah, if you, I will say this though. Actually, if you learn how to play with her, her mix-ups is off the chain.
Yeah, she has so many moves. They're all great. And they all are usually explosive too. And said Link was broken in Soul Calibur too. Yeah, that's why they won't even bring their version back. They're just like, hey, this is the highest solar version of the game. We're not gonna do this.
But you can just put it on. You ain't got to put it on nothing else.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody will buy these versions if it's
well, they already been bought. They've already been bought, so just put it on. They've already been. Bought.
I mean, they should now. Yeah, at this point.
Yeah, since they going back and doing Tales of Symphonia remastered, and that should have came out on the Wii U, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
I think that's part of. I think that's part of those deals that we were talking about. Remember how
talking about the stuff that people that the stuff that don't want nobody know about.
Yeah, the stuff that came out about Capcom. I mean, but we knew that anyway. It was a foregone conclusion because we knew they had the same kind of deals with other games, like the Atlas games.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of stuff. Like, so you're gonna tell me that another Japanese first party is just invisible to you in Japan, and all their games are selling well in Japan? Yeah, it's one of those.
Well, that's because I'm still trying to wrap my head around why Jim Ryan is so hell bent on thinking that Sony Microsoft's not going to do a Call of Duty version for PlayStation. I'm still trying to wonder why he thinks that.
They're going to do one. I don't think I think they know they're getting Call of Duty because that's their best selling version of late. Has been the PS4 version of the game. So and naturally the PS5 version is going to do just as well. So Microsoft has every incentive to continue publishing for PlayStation, but that's not what Jim Ryan's worried about. He's worried about
what is he worried about?
Because he's worried about it coming to Nintendo.
So that don't hurt him.
Well, they had an unspoken. How can I say this? An unspoken deal where after Wii U had a bad taste in everybody's mouth that we'll just avoid Nintendo at all costs, even though they make money again. So like it's just one of those things where, and And I already said this in a couple of tweets where it's not even about like they try to make it about the whole maturity thing or whatever, where they want to make Microsoft look more mature. No, they're still going to publish on PlayStation. But the other thing is Sony's worried because that was a massive licensing partner for them. So as Call of Duty does good on PlayStation, that's a crap load of licensing fees that Activision will pay to Sony. And we don't know how this deal is going to work out where Microsoft is going to strong arm Sony and just say, hey, well, you can continue to get Call of Duty, but we're not paying them licensing fees, because if we're going to pay them, then we'll just put them all on Xbox.
Well, I
Just,
just don't because look, we see Minecraft,
mm-hmm.
and Minecraft's everywhere. I don't see Microsoft being,
I think they might do it. I think they might be that petty. And the crazy thing is, the only reason that Sony had such a good deal with Activision to begin with is because they paid for some of their development back in the day when 360 was taken off.
mm-hmm.
So like that was the only way they could get them back. So and it's crazy. So now Activision can afford to take the hits because Microsoft is backing them. So how do you know what I mean? How do you square that circle, if you will, where you're in a situation where now they don't need you, and if you're talking, well, you want to be able to sell Call of Duty to a lot of people in the United States, well, there's another platform now selling really well in the United States other than Xbox, and other than Sony.
Good point.
Yeah, and they know Microsoft can press that button at any moment. They're just like, hey, here's the Switch version of Call of Duty. We don't need you, Sony.
I mean, they're gonna do that anyway. Money is
Yeah.
money. They don't. Money is money. Everybody ain't Capcom.
I just think Sony fears it because then they won't have the leverage that they already don't have the leverage they used to anyway. When once his purchase is final and complete, Sony will never have that leverage anymore.
I mean, what was stopping them with Call of Duty on Black Ops 2 on Wii U then?
Oh, all that did was give them the excuse to say, hey, we don't need a publisher anymore because it's not selling well, regardless of how, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good point.
So like you see Switch taken out. They're like, well, we're just going to pretend we don't see that happening, especially if we got two people paying us to pretend that it's not happening. So this is one of those things, man. I don't know. It's just a weird scenario. All the excuses they're coming up with, they don't add up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you can't. The stuff they saying, I'm like, bro. Every time I see a publication of what's being said, I'm like, dude, it don't make you look good.
Nope. It just makes Sony look desperate because they know they need Call of Duty. Like they need Call of Duty really bad right now. That's the only third party franchise that's as important as their first party franchises. That's just one of those things. I would say Call of Duty is as important to Sony as Pokemon Company is to Nintendo.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that in a sense.
Kind of like how important Square was a few generations ago to Sony.
Well, Square kind of did that to themselves with all them crazy expenses.
Yeah, they kind of got a little bit too much expensive for themselves. I love this game; it's so fun. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a Dreamcast stream at some point.
Well, hell, if you can find a bunch of Dreamcast games, I want Skies of Arcadia.
So I've got a bit of a collection, and I've imported a couple of games too. So I have Shenmue 2. Yeah, I have Shenmue 2. I have Outrigger, a legitimate copy of Outrigger. Yeah, a couple Dreamcast games I want to stream because I don't think too many people have seen them other than like on emulators or whatever. And Metropolis Street Racer, which is I was talking. I think it was Clocked It. I was talking to about that, one of the other people that follow me on Twitter. We were talking about Metropolis Street Racer. That's a really good game. Before Project Gotham Racing, that's what Smilebit did.
Oh, so, okay.
What was it? Smile Bit? I can't think of the name of the studio right now. But yeah, they did that racing game right before Project Gotham Racing, and it was the same thing. You had a kudos system, and it rewarded you for tight turns and stuff like that. Basically, almost reckless driving, but you didn't hit anybody. So it's pretty cool. Similar to the near misses on this game you're playing right now. You get little points, little style points, whatnot. It's pretty good game. I mean, the graphics were pretty good too for that system back then.
Oh, okay.
So
I never heard of
yeah.
that one. Like my Dreamcast finally died on me, so 20. It lasted 20 years though.
Did you have the black sports one or you had the
I had the
original
Black
launch?
Sports one.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
the
the
2K one.
original launch white one or whatever. It still works fine for me. And I'm surprised that it held up because I did a lot of how can I say this experimentation with Windows CE on that thing. So so that disc laser got a lot of use.
Well, how? Because
Uh,
mine finally it died on. I was trying to play Shenmue last year,
oh yeah,
and I got to the first part of the game where you're going to meet Bob at the hot
hmm
dog stand, and it stopped,
man.
and
I tell
the
you
laser
what,
died.
when you start getting to the end of that game and you start going to the tower, yeah, you're gonna be chewing up the laser on that game. It is looking for a lot of data towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
So you'll definitely be you'll definitely be killing it towards the end of Shenmue One. It's pretty bad. But nah, that's an impressive game too. That game was
It
it
was way
was
ahead of its time.
way ahead of its time for
Way
sure.
ahead of its time. Like
It was so big, like it just too much going on in that game.
Yu
Um,
Suzuki
oh yeah, yeah,
showed
he
out
was.
on that one. Ah,
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would definitely think that Sony kind of they're in a corner. They've never been in a position where they're forced to comply. So
I mean,
I don't know how they get out of it. To be honest with you.
go back to doing what via PS1 and stop trying to keep up with them
Yeah.
Microsoft because they can't do it. They don't have Microsoft money.
Yep. Trinell, that's a good example as well. I mean, it's more than one game that fits the mold of Call of Duty. Here, I mean, Grand Theft Auto is also a very big one. Grand Theft Auto is gone. That's I would say that's 50% of Sony's user base at that point. If that leaves and goes to another platform, they're leaving with it. So yeah, I would definitely say Grand Theft Auto is a key franchise that's about as critical as Sony's first party. I would definitely
Oh,
say
come
that.
on.
Yeah, I would definitely say that for sure. So yeah, it's it's just strange because I mean at this point once publishers start smelling blood in the water about this whole Call of Duty thing, if I mean at this point 2K can be like, you know what, maybe we don't want to pay licensing fees either. And Sony's like, well, no, you got to pay license fees. And they're like, well, we could just leave and then you have nothing. And because then you won't have the NBA 2K games, you won't have Grand Theft Auto, you won't have any of that stuff. And then what? I mean, Sony would be in a predicament at that point.
Well,
No Grand Theft Auto, no NBA game,
aren't they
no Call of
already in a
Duty.
predicament? Because
Yeah,
it's not like all of those games they getting the killing off of it. Like I know the 2K series they can probably make a killing off the music because Sony Music like
oh
that.
yeah, but Call of Duty because that game sells so much, they
Uh,
get a grip off of licensing. Even though it's just
uh,
a percentage of $1 billion in 3 months is a lot of money.
yeah,
So
that's true. That's true.
so it's like yeah, that's definitely a cash cow for them for those big games. Now the smaller games, yeah, they don't really care one way or the other because it's not enough to affect their bottom line, and they'll be willing to waive that for a little bit more dominance. So they'll say, hey, look, well, yeah, don't pay licensing fees this year, and then just make it exclusive for at least 6 months for us. And yeah, they would be willing to do that for.
Yeah, because I could have swore Seafood was supposed to be exclusive.
Yep, and that probably fell through, or at some point.
They just weren't making that money.
They decided to bring it to other platforms, but
No, I don't think it was making that money like that.
yeah. So maybe that was it, and you know, Sony's like, hey, well, make it exclusive or whatever, or we wish you could make it exclusive, and they're like, hey, yeah, it's not selling like that. We need to make money. It was a lot of money for us to make this game, so we need to put it elsewhere so we can be in the black.
Basically,
Yeah, because and sometimes that's what you have to do. I get that. What did he say? He said, so Sony lost Japan to Nintendo, and Microsoft is acquiring major franchises integral to Sony platform. I can see Sony be looking, yeah, because now you're talking about Sony basically gave up on Japan. They just gave
which
Japan
makes
to
no
Nintendo.
sense.
They didn't even try to fight. I'm like, you have great Japanese franchises that you could bring back. You had great partnerships with major Japanese studios that you just said, fuck all. And now, yeah, and so now you've given up Japan. Now you've given up Japan, and Microsoft is like, we're the biggest juggernaut in the United States, so our lawyers speak the same language. Yeah, we could just let you go. Kind of, we could push you out of the United States, and then where would they be? Like you have the UK and some of South America at this point, and that's not a big enough market compared to.
I never got that. I never understood the purpose of closing Sony Japan, the Sony Japan studio. I never understood the purpose of that. I never understood. I didn't understand what the mindset was.
Maybe they just you don't think I don't. There's no way you're gonna tell me they couldn't afford to keep them afloat because I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either. I don't because you remember that Spider Man gives them a lot of money, a lot of free money they don't have to spend. Like I'm talking about the movies as well.
Yeah,
Because the last two Spider Man movies made over $1 billion, and they got like the bulk of that.
and they're still selling. They're selling these 8K and 16K cameras to
Yeah,
Hollywood still, so they're still making. They have proprietary money that they're making off of that as well.
yeah.
So yeah,
Now, yeah, people ain't using the discs as much anymore because it's kind of pointless at this point.
yeah,
But this, the cameras that free money from Marvel,
yep,
and yes, I call it free money because they don't have to spend. They don't have to spend as much to help with the making of those movies.
yep, and that's Disney money now, and Disney don't always pay
Yeah,
for whatever they have to do for licensing for those games.
yeah. So I mean, it's not like they got income coming in, so I don't buy. Like you said, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Yeah, it's just a weird scenario for them. I don't know how to even deal with it. I don't know. I don't know what the sparks are on with Sony. So if you get the reference, you get the reference. But yeah, man, it, interesting couple of weeks, I would say. Um, have my like you said, my quarterly conversation about console generations is just I
Well,
don't
look,
understand people.
look, I don't care. I think it's funny. To me, I think it's funny at this point, just because I'm like, dude, I don't understand why people keep bringing it up.
And I'm willing to have a positive conversation with Color Code. I mean I can do I guess not even really a debate. It really just be more of a conversation more than anything else with him because he's not really like that. So um that's fine. Well, it's just like you hear exactly what I'm saying and I'm spelling it out, and it's not my opinion. These are
No,
factual things that exist. The
I mean
definition is in
that's
Webster.
what
Like
Nintendo said. It's their ninth gen. Like I don't understand what people want to believe.
Switch is the successor to Wii U.
Yeah,
Nintendo said it.
they don't make like I think people are confusing what they did with 3DS because yeah, they made like the new 3DS and then they made like a couple other ones. That's not the same.
It should tell you everything. If not only did they kill Wii U immediately, they killed 3DS immediately. So you can't even say, well, it's the next three. No, they killed that too. So they're all in on this one platform. This is the next generation of everything. So they're here. And I don't know what else to tell you, but they moved on and just said, "Hey, we're gonna do what's next after Wii U with this." And I hear all the excuses. Oh well, well, Switch has competed more with PS4 and Xbox One than it has with PS5 and Series X. And I'm like, yeah, because they've only been out for 2 years. But at the same point in time, Wii U competed with PS4 and Xbox One longer than Switch did. So
So what's the difference? Like,
so oh well, the Switch is just a Wii U Pro. And I'm like, no,
no,
the PS4 Pro and Xbox Series X were pros, and they extended their generation.
like, yeah, that doesn't, like, no. Just because you want that to be the truth doesn't mean it is.
Let's just pause right here. When did the PS4 Pro stop? When did the PS4 stop being the only version of the PS4 that was out there? It was eventually the PS4 Pro was introduced. The same way you think the Switch got introduced because of Wii U, the PS4 Pro got introduced. The Xbox One X got introduced. Around what time was that those got introduced to peace? 2018, 2019, right?
Yep.
So the 8th generation, if we're only going to pay attention to Sony and Microsoft, it went from 2013 to about 2018 and 2019. That's when it was supposed to end, but they extended it with those two Pro consoles.
Yeah.
And then you have a console that Nintendo launched just before those came out. Right around the time, it looks like the generation was supposed to end before Sony and Microsoft extended it.
Yeah.
So, Xbox One X plays Xbox One games. Like, you can put the disc in there and it plays them. PS4 Pro plays PS4 games. You put the disc in there and it plays them. You cannot put a Wii U disc inside of a Switch. You cannot put a Switch cartridge inside of a Wii U. It seems like they had a clean break and made a new console. I mean, just I don't know how else to explain that. I don't know how to brain rot. It does. They're willing to accept one thing, but not another. And Kim Woo is amazing. She's very amazing.
I think it's like they're doing mental gymnastics for it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. It's actually sad.
The goal is Switch can't count. So
yeah,
what do I come up with to say Switch can't count?
I mean, I get if you just don't like the system. I get it. I get it. I mean, that's once again, that's some stuff that you got to deal with. But that doesn't make it like you can't act like it doesn't exist. Because if it doesn't exist, a whole lot of people damn sure love it.
And I don't even think is about. For some people, they may even like the Switch. It's just the point. We can't give Nintendo credit for starting a generation because then it means they're in the same conversation with these other two systems that do 4K. And I'm like, but 4K isn't what makes those systems 9th gen at all.
And a lot of forecasters are believing that this is going to last for like at least another 8 or 9 years because there's no big leap yet. Because people keep talking about 8K, but 8K,
nobody's doing 8K.
Nobody's doing 8K, and you're not getting the 8K TV anytime soon. You're just not.
Nope.
So because you're not going to want to pay for that stuff. Like that's why I hated when Google kept bringing it up during that first Connect. That's the first State of Connect. I'm like, stop talking about 8K.
Yep.
Like, stop talking about it. Oh yes,
the Switch can't start 9th gen.
I'm like,
ugh. It's like the Switch can't start 9th gen. The other two consoles weren't ready yet. I was like, well, you started 8th gen.
Yeah.
Well, that was only a year. Oh, okay. Why does that magically change things?
Well, the other thing too is I think if we had if Microsoft and Sony were not copying each other and they actually had a unique console, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah.
The problem is two of them are carbon copies of each other.
They've cloned themselves for 2 generations in a row at this point.
Yeah. And like there's nothing unique about them.
And that's
I'm sorry, was I supposed to get a jump scare out of that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, When my first match against her, yeah, it was kind of freaky.
No, see, I didn't seen the ring. I
Oh
know
yeah,
what
I've seen the ring too. I just wasn't expecting it in the video game, and I'm like, she has an escape that she does when she glows when she has instinct, and I'm like, Jesus, that's freaky, because she just starts glowing and just starts sliding back no matter what you're doing.
as someone who has grown up watching these scary movie franchises with the Williams brothers, I am not afraid of none of this stuff.
They do nothing but make fun of those movies.
Yeah. I'm like, Queen Latifah beat the brakes off of it.
Oh, of course.
She pulled her right out that TV and whooped.
Yep. And you ain't afraid. And then if you watch those movies and then watch The Ring or The Grudge after that, it's more funny than it is.
Yeah, it just makes it funnier.
Yeah. But she's Hisako is, I have a hard time. I still have a hard time today against her high-low mix-ups. It's really difficult. Even when you sit there and play with her and you know what all her enders look like, or her linkers look like, it's still really hard to predict what's happening there. So it's just really weird to me.
Yeah, it is. I still think she's like her intro video was actually pretty funny because of how they did it. Because you would have swore that whoever produced The Ring was gonna file a lawsuit. I'm like, dude,
they knew exactly how to play it off. They're just
I'm like, this is straight up copyright infringement.
Yeah, we're gonna do everything, but Original Cinder was really, really close to Fantastic Four. So yeah, they had to change him up a lot for this game.
Because then remember, because in this one you could say, did they take their direction from the way Chris Evans played him in the 2005 movie? Because he's doing a lot of quips.
He kind of sounded like him too. I wonder if that was part of why he wasn't in the second game. Because maybe some internal look, we don't know if we can get the clearance.
Yeah, basically. I think in the first game it was like nobody really cared because they didn't know the game, and then
it was a smaller game.
It blew up.
Yep.
So once it blew up, I mean, because they did what Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter couldn't do. They put a combo system that worked.
Yep. And so they're talking about Steam Deck in the chat, and then I was like, so all this did was prove with a lot of the issues with Nintendo Switch games is all in software and the developers needing more time, because they were like, well let's take Pokemon and let's put it on the Steam Deck and see how much better it runs. And I'm like, the same issues are still there. Seems like that infinitely better hardware on the Steam Deck didn't even fix a lot of the issues. Even on some gaming PCs, when they threw all of the shaders at it, you still had issues. Or if you overclock your CPU or a whole bunch of RAM, you're still going to have issues. You're still going to have clipping. You're still going to fall through the floor. You're still going to have how can I say this? A varied frame rate. It's not going to be stable because that's software. And if people understand this more, we just keep seeing more and more games that just kind of prove what I've been saying all this time. And I hate to repeat everything once again. The Switch doesn't run Windows.
It doesn't. Well,
that means
who was the guy that tried to use the argument against you about Koei Tecmo's the Warriors engine? I'm like, dude, that happens with every Warriors game on every system, regardless of the generation.
Those games are bad. They run bad on everything.
Yeah, because they don't change. They haven't tweaked that engine yet. They just keep using it. So One Piece Pirate Warriors have the same issues that Hyrule Warriors has the same issues that Dynasty Warriors has the same issues that Samurai Warriors has the same issues that SD Gundam Warriors has the same. It's the same issues.
And you're gonna say that the Switch has the same CPU problems that the Wii U did? You're gonna say the PS4 has the same problems that the Wii U did? You're gonna say the PS5 has the same problems that the Wii U? I mean, it seems to me like on the CPU side of things, they need a lot more RAM for their engine because their engine at its core is kind of leaky. So maybe you tailor the software to what you have. And
don't get me wrong, Hyrule Warriors plays excellent, by the way, especially Age of Calamity.
Yeah.
Age of Calamity plays really well.
Somebody said WWE 2K18 on Switch modded overclock or not still runs like garbage. Yes.
Yeah, that was just a bad game.
Yep. Yep. It said when has Windows ran on Nintendo hardware always? Yeah, I mean, I think the closest we've gotten was GameCube because we had people were installing Red Hat Linux and a bunch of other stuff on there, and then you were able to get a couple of extra libraries in there where you possibly could run like Windows 3.1 on on the GameCube, but that's probably the closest
Which
you
one
could
ran
get.
on Dreamcast? What the ME?
Windows CE.
Okay.
So basically, what the same version of Windows that runs at a cash register at a local store. That version of Windows, the super embedded version of Windows, is what worked was what's running on the Dreamcast. So, but yeah, it's just strange to me. Like if you, so when I tell people stop giving me these bullshit ass examples of well this game over here ran that those games running are not full synthetic benchmarks that show you exactly what that system can do. They aren't. They're games that people put out for profit, which means they were under time constraints in some way, shape, or form. So you can't look at some game over here running like this and some game running like this over here, and neither one of them ran to the max capabilities of whichever platform you're trying to compare it to. If you're looking at a PS5 game over here, is it maximizing everything PS5 can do? And if you look at what the Switch version of the game is, it maximizing everything the Switch can do? There's no way to take those things and then say, well, this is running over here, so therefore this can run. You can't do that.
No.
So, and that's why I asked for the
architecture.
math. And when people say, well, I'm a developer, I'm like, well, then what's the math? What are you talking about? What did you have problems with? What memory? What part of memory you couldn't access in time to where your code wasn't able to run? And then at that point, even if they are truly a developer, where they usually aren't, even if they are a developer truly at that point, they're kind of exposing the flaw in their code by saying any one thing, talking about, hey, well, we're not able to do blah blah blah. And the first thing I'm gonna ask then at that point is like, so did you map it to the nearest amount of cache that you could address to see if you could seek that data faster, or did you tier it where you're seeking L1 first, then L2, then RAM, and see if that works better in that way, shape, and form. So you're never waiting for data. And if that conversation happens, then it's going to be crickets at that point too, because then they're like, oh, well, maybe I should have done that kind of situation. And that's never. I don't think people talk in general about how software works, and
That's why I
games are
love
software.
Sakurai's channel.
Yeah, they're not magical things. The Switch doesn't develop games for you. This Xbox you're playing on right now does not develop games for you. You don't just take code, put it on there, and then it just does it. There's stuff you got to do. And there's basic things if you want to talk about graphics and stuff that are required for you to draw a frame. And that's why I ask for the math all the time. I say, what is impossible to be done on Switch? Well, the Switch can't do with these games in 1080p and stuff like that. With effort, they can, because the Switch can draw a 1080p frame buffer. It can technically do 2K if it wanted to, because it's got enough RAM to do it. So what exactly are you trying to do? How big is your render target? Why is it that goddamn big if it's that huge and it's an issue? And then you start working from there, because at some point you have to admit that it's the code.
Well, I think I can answer that question for you, Shadow. It's the rocks. The rocks.
The Switch, I'll just say the Switch has 3 gigs of RAM dedicated to game applications running at one time, right?
Yep.
3 gigs worth of that. You only need around 10 to 16 megabytes, not gigs, megabytes of memory to draw a 1080p frame buffer. And I think people forget this a lot.
Yeah, because that's how you get it on. That's why it doesn't take that much to stream.
And that's why Wii U was able to do 1080p games, because it has 32 megs of really fast memory that it uses for frame buffer.
Yeah.
So that's why Wii U was able to do it, even though the RAM was really slow on that and it was only 1 gigabit for games. That's why Wii U was able to do it. So if Switch doesn't even have that embedded frame buffer memory, it just has more memory and it has faster memory than Wii U had, as far as DDR goes. Then at this point, you're drawing your display, you're updating your display, and everything else is filler. So at this point, you only run out of memory because what you're trying to display at one frame is a combination of textures, um, other data that you're using to feed other threads. Um, it's really just gonna be textures, other vertex data, and the vertex data is not that big. Um, the 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 texture data is going to be the majority of your stuff, and that should be the majority of what your file size is going to be per frame. And if it's way more, if you're talking about more than 1 gig per frame, like that's insane. How big is your game where you need that much per frame to move data around? And at that point, you should be rewriting um, what's available for your frame buffer, or you start doing things like, well, let's just bare minimum, because everybody has to make sure your Switch game works in handheld mode, right? Like start with a 720p frame buffer, which is even smaller than 1080p. So now you're talking, 7 to 8 megabytes per frame or whatever. And so I'm just like, how do you square that? How do you tell me that a system with over 3 gigs worth of space to deal with, um, three times the amount of memory that Wii U had, and you're struggling to get your game to run at 720p. So either your game is drawing too much TDP, like you're drawing too much power to where, yeah, that's gonna make the game slower because the Switch is intentionally lowering bandwidth to keep the game running, um, or your game just isn't designed well, and you're gonna have to rewrite it for Switch to be better, because it's obvious the system can, like. I'll just say this: if you if you Mario Kart 8 is 1080p frames per second.
According to Digital Foundry, it is 59.5 frames per second, sir.
Yeah, of course. So well, we got a copied frame, but it still drew the frame. So
Yeah, it still do the frame. So what?
still drew the frame. It's a copy frame, but it was drawn. It's there. It's there. It was updated.
Smash was at 60 frames per second too. So
Yeah, and there's no VRAM on Switch. It's all in the main memory. It's not like Wii U, so it wasn't held for the next update. It 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 was in RAM already. It wasn't in VRAM just sitting there, already displayed. That didn't happen. So I just don't get. I don't get it. I need somebody that's this big negative Nancy here to explain these basic things to me. I So I had a conversation with Modern Victor's Gamer, but it never got this deep when I was on the Spawncast. And after I had that conversation with him, I was never on the Spawncast again. So, um,
you had to know that was coming.
yeah. So I don't know whether or not the last developers I've seen to mention what I'm talking about right now was Shannon, when they were talking about Fastworks and Neo for Wii U. That was the last time I've heard developers speak out and talk about um, how you draw every frame. At this point now, it appears to me that developers they're making games they're basically building a PC game as their target, and they're trying to figure out where they can shoehorn that next. So when they look at the development kits for all these different systems, they're just like, well, the target that we have doesn't work. It's not automatically running. It's not just, and that was one of the glowing amounts of praise that the Switch got. Originally was like the SDK was really flexible and we can just get our code up and running and go. Okay, well, you get your code up and running and go. What are you doing after that to make sure it's optimized well, specifically for that? That means you should not have 2K and 4K texture sizes inside of your port to switch. They should not be there. There's zero reason for that. It's not. It's never going to draw a frame buffer that size. So why are all those extra files there? That kind of stuff. Um, and I wonder if that's talked about, and or who's your team redoing the art for 720p or what have you, or 1080p in those cases, and what does it look like? What are you doing to make sure it looks well? Are you using boundless textures to make sure the compression is right for these textures and make sure they fit the matrix in the correct way in the Switch SDK, so it doesn't look warped as hell when you eventually try to apply it? I These are things that I don't think these things are talked about, because these are the human people things, because the developers should be responsible for what they're doing, and the publisher as well, because they're paying these people. So the excuse is just blame the hardware, blame the hardware, blame the hardware. And I'm like, bro, at some point, PC is not going to be able to brute force all this foolishness. And we're
It
starting to
don't brute
see it.
force it already. It don't do that already.
Yeah. We're seeing those issues now, with Cyberpunk and other games. Like so you can't just blame Nintendo. You can't blame the OG Xbox One or the Series S. Like at this point, and when you start saying, "Oh, this is holding back this," no, what are you doing, bro? You're gonna tell me the Series S?
I saw that.
You
That
gonna tell me
article.
Series S isn't designed for 1080p and above? You're gonna tell me that?
Yeah, because that whole article made no sense. I'm like, these people made themselves sound like they didn't know what they were talking about. And you mean tell me you're the developer?
Yes, to the point where I'm sitting here and I'm like, look, everybody calls me the resident Nintendo fanboy, but here I am making dedicated threads talking about the Series S and why it's not holding nothing back, because the same concept is consistent. I'm not just saying this because I want to defend Nintendo. It's common fucking sense.
Yeah.
This is hardware that's dedicated for this resolution. You have to build the game around that. Why it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you just, well, I can't shoehorn this 4K game on this platform, therefore it's the hardware's fault? You fucking idiot.
I honestly think that people aren't really coding, they're just doing object oriented. They're just drag and dropping.
And
so
that's
when
insane.
It doesn't work, they don't know how to go into the code and look and see what they can take out of the code to take out redundancy, and it's showing.
So, and that's one of the situations where I'm like, talent isn't a thing anymore. They just throw bodies at a project. They're just like, well, we got a whole bunch of people around the world taking photos for these textures, and we got all these people around the world all working on this database within this game to have all these assets or these missions run this way and whatnot. And I'm like, what about making the game smooth first?
Yeah.
Like when there's no textures, there's nothing but checkerboards and fucking blank wireframes. Is the game running smooth then?
That's how Sakurai and Miyamoto got this. Dude, I love Sakurai's channel, but that's how Sakurai and Miyamoto got this stuff working.
Yeah. The only difference, Brad Smith, between the Series S and the X is it's a bend Series X. So they either get rid of or they disable a lot of the GPU cores on the Series X to make the Series S, and there's only 12 gigabytes of RAM in the Series S versus the 16 in the Series X, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure I'm not lying here. Just to make sure, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's 12. They may have updated the specs recently, just to make sure. General Ram over here.
This is why we need Shonuff in the game.
Captain Gray himself.
That's why I need Shonuff in the game. I need Shonuff from the Last Dragon in the game so I can properly talk trash while I'm beating somebody. Am I to be this Shonuff? Am I?
And once again, Microsoft has done that thing where they delete the specs for the system again. Yeah, right now they're talking. Oh yeah, you only get half. You get half a terabyte of solid state drive.
Oh crap!
So yeah, it's the same GPU. It's just 20 CUs instead of 56. So they cut over half the amount of CUs. Looks like it's the same Frequency though, 1.5, 1.6 gigahertz. It's 10 gigs of GDDR6 instead of 16. So not 12, it's 10. Um, yeah, they're saying the targeted gaming resolution for this system is 1440p. But I mean, a lot of games can be 1080p forward and go from there. But you can't tell me that, even at 1440p with 20 CUs, that is not overkill or close to overkill for 1440p. Because if Switch can have games like Breath of the Wild at 900p, you know what I mean? And there's there's over 3 times the amount of RAM in the Series S versus Switch. I mean, obviously at 1440p you don't have as much of a problem per frame drawing what you need.
Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah,
You
and that's
shouldn't.
just
But
so. Yeah. So Yen put in how many times they're going to delete their stats. So Microsoft and Sony have done. I put a video up about this. Whenever Sony and Microsoft have stats that are lower than the other, they don't put it front page. They make you have to click to another page to go find it, or they delete it altogether. Like the Series, the Xbox One, because it had a higher CPU frequency, that was the only thing they showed for the Xbox One after the PS4 specs came out. And once Sony saw that their CPU specs were a little bit lower, they didn't put them up there, and they only put the GCN architecture frequency on there to say, hey, we have GDDR5 or whatever, and that's so fast. God, please love us because we got GDDR5. So they pimped that a lot. Originally, when both of those systems, when they did their official unveiling for both of those systems, they had full specs for all of them being shown. And this time they were a little bit cagey. So when even when the Series X came out, it took about 7 weeks, and one of the hardware developers in an interview to confirm that the CPU in the Series X is actually the tablet form factor for on the CPU side of things, because they were trying to say, hey, well, it's kind of like server grade kind of thing, and they were trying to tell people that it was a desktop grade CPU and whatnot, and they wouldn't come up with specifics like, hey, how much cache do these things have? Because the big difference between whether it's a laptop, mobile, or desktop or server grade CPU is how much L1 or L2 cache per core each of these CPU threads have. And they were super cagey on that and didn't want to talk about it. So what they did was do things like tell you how much total SRAM there was in the entire system. And I'm like, there's SRAM in the GPU. So that's really fucking weird for you to add up all the damn SRAM in the GPU and all the SRAM in the CPU and add it together and say that's some weird shit. Nobody's ever done that before, but that's what Microsoft chose to do. So people had to go back and like, well, we know how many CUs are here, and then we can kind of figure out how many per core or per shader, how many SRAM blocks there are. Then we can start to see how much SRAM there is for the CPU. It was so weird. And then they finally admitted, hey, we got so much L1 cache, so much L2 cache for the CPU, and it's basically one of the laptop grade AMD APUs essentially. And all they did was for the APU side of it, they just made sure the GPU part of the APU was huge. So you have 56 CUs instead of your normal like 4 to 10 that you would in a laptop grade CPU or mobile grade CPU. They did not want to let that information out. And the same is true of the PS5. It's the same situation.
Well, let me ask you this, because look, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think that they should be actually putting out like specs like this to the normal public because the
They
normal
don't
folks
know.
don't know what the hell they looking at.
They don't know.
They
And at
don't.
that point, anyway, like those numbers on the spec sheet aren't going to mean anything if the developers aren't doing what the fuck they're supposed to do with it. So the great thing about GameCube was everything that you saw was what you would get real time. All the specifications that they gave you, they already accounted for you making a game with it. So you would see those quote unquote low numbers or whatever, 6 to 12 million polygons per second or whatever. But that's after they'd already factored in, hey, this thing draws 90 million raw. And we can add so many textures per polygon and all this other kind of stuff. And there's textile bandwidth and stuff we got to account for. So after you figure all that in, it's about 6 to 12 million polygons per second in the average game that you will play from Nintendo or whatever. They didn't factor in like, hey, Factor 5 is really fucking good, so they'll probably do 20. Just stuff like that. So, and I think people didn't. Back then, it was really easy. Developers talked to the hardware more at that point, kind of because they didn't have any other recourse to get performance. But now, games can be made now at such a high level because you got shader language now that kind of does the low level talking for you. But that's both a gift and a curse. So you can write a shader for, whatever kind of effect you want to see, or even CPU logic if you want to. You can write a shader for CPU logic and it all runs on the GPU. But at some point, you got to write stuff back to memory, or you got to have actual logic that says, "Hey, I received this input, I received this output as an input, and I don't know what to do with it next." Because GPUs are serial, or well, how can I say this? They're parallel. They're massively parallel. They'll just do a whole bunch of things at the same time together, and they're not aware of each other. So you need some type of logic or CPU or some type of special functioning shader to gather all the results together and move them where they need to go and schedule them. And that's one of the things where things like real-time ray tracing are not going to be done the way that you think they're going to be done. They're going to be approximated. And if you want it to look anywhere near as good as it did in, say, like Toy Story, it's either going to be really low fidelity or you're going to have frame rate issues because GPUs don't really think like that. The majority of what you see in those ray trace scenes is a bunch of CPU logic, not GPU logic, because CPUs know how to take and order data and move it and take statements and move things around, and GPUs kind of don't. They're just like, hey, bits, go over here. And they just do them very fast, parallel, and at a very speedy rate. And that's kind of the thing that I don't think that conversation happens either. Like, what is the difference between a CPU and a GPU, or what are the benefits of each? So, and I want to have these conversations with people, but it never goes to that. It leaves because they're just like, whoa, this game runs like this over here, so my conversation is over. I just came to bash this system, and I'm like, but why? Because you didn't prove that you knew anything. Because when I started talking about what makes this stuff possible, now you don't want to talk anymore. So what was the point? To say, oh, this person bought the wrong product? Like, if they're still having fun with it, they didn't buy the wrong product.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting that the game, the system, you're supposed to be able to have fun on it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
And what do you do? What do you do with somebody like me that owns all the products anyway? Oh, you bought the wrong product. Did I? Because I could just play the right product that you think is right. I could just play that one whenever I want to, and then go back to the one that you don't like whenever I want to. So I don't see the point. So it's just really, really odd to me, man. I hate having to have that conversation about the whole spec war thing, because games aren't even made the way they used to be anymore. Nobody writes to the metal anymore. So it's almost no point to even brag about these specs. Like, oh, this can do this, blah blah blah. It means nothing. It just means that the bloated code that was on all the insert Call of Duty game here will be the same as it was before, and they'll just complain when they can't get good performance and not change anything up internally.
Well, we need more power. If we just had more power, we'd be able to know.
Nope. What did Mark Cerny say? Reorder all your shit. so the SSDs can handle your data in an efficient way. And nobody wanted to recode it. So now we got SSDs and you still got load times. Shit like that. So I don't know. I don't know when people are gonna get it. I don't think they're ever gonna get it. They're not gonna understand we're still gonna have the same problems. I'm like, bro, we had no load times when we had cartridges. No
Yeah,
load times.
at all.
You turn on the system, the game loads.
Yep, and
You
it
press
worked.
start.
And it worked. So,
Clever
well,
girl, she gave you a hard time, man.
yes, freaking
Yes.
can't stand the thing. Anyway, before we get out here, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you.
Mhm.
Okay, so not this video because Sakurai just put out another one this morning, but yesterday's video. At the end of it, he made a little comment about wanting to see Kid Icarus Uprising ported. You don't think he's telling something we don't know, do you?
I'm just gonna say this.
I'm gonna buy it again if it gets ported. I'm just saying.
There's no way this man sat still right after Smash Ultimate was over with.
Oh,
There's
no.
no way. He's not
No.
that type of individual. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to take a rest."
They had
For
to
how
force
long?
him to. They had to force him to take a vacation.
Yeah,
They made him leave because he wouldn't leave. They made him leave.
he just loves games, man. So he's
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, of course he's probably doing some type of effort to port that to whatever's current or whatever is next. I'm not gonna sit here
Try to
speak anything into existence, but we know Nintendo's working on new hardware like since Switch came out. So
yeah. I mean that's usually when you start. You
yeah,
start your R&D usually starts a year after your because once you get your system out, the next year is just to make sure everything works properly. Then the R&D team usually works the next year. So 2017 is when it came out. 2018 is when they started on the next thing.
yep.
That's usually how it works. Because you want to have something viable by year 5, or in this situation, probably year 6 or 7, because the they I hate to say that they hit a wall, but they kind of have as far as I guess graphical fidelity. I guess you could say because it's only so far you can go that route.
Maybe, or it's just time because
Yeah,
I will say this definitely. If like RGT is trying to speak into existence, I mean, God bless him. If Switch sales are down, they still aren't significantly down because they're on track to doing 19 million right now,
yeah.
which is still way better than the majority of systems have done annually across the history of the industry. But Nintendo had been tracking around 20 to 21 a year for the last 3 years. Their highest year, I think, was what 26 million, which is insane.
Yeah.
That didn't anybody say it? Did anybody acknowledge that was a sales record like that? Nobody. The
No.
last record was Wii in 2009. They sold 24 million.
Yeah, they didn't acknowledge it because that wasn't what the that's not how the how game journalists go.
They wait until Sony does it. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
that's typically what it is. Then they say it's a sales record.
yeah.
But yeah, that's like the highest selling console is done in a calendar year. And definitely a fiscal year.
From
So
what is it, March to March? Yeah.
March to March. Mm-hmm. April to March. Yeah. So they're on a good track. Like, and there's nothing saying that they don't catch up this holiday season and do, 5 million.
I don't
This
see why they
holiday.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, look.
Which is crazy. They're doing the same old bundle they do every year, and it still sells well every year. I don't know.
Here's the thing: like when you can have people outwardly complain about one of your biggest titles, and that title still sells 10 mil.
Yeah. People are like, where's Mario Kart 9? Nintendo's like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, like yeah. So I was wondering about that because I am gonna bring that up on the next podcast. By the way, people, there won't be a podcast Sunday. Just remember that. But next podcast, I am gonna bring up that Kid Icarus Uprising because I think that's interesting, especially seeing as how like there was people that wanted that game ported over like early in the Switch life cycle.
Yeah.
And it was like, nah, we ain't gonna try to do that right now.
Yeah, I wonder how that would do because you're talking about you're gonna have to re
It's air and land parts that you're gonna have to do, and I think that's where
yeah
the control problem, because
you
the
need the
the
top and the bottom screen
yeah,
too.
it
Like
was
how do you?
supposed to be a Wii game. That's why they did it the way they did it, because you're supposed to be using the Wii remote
Mm-hmm.
to do the
The
basically
targeting.
targeting and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you find a way to do that for the air portion, you'll probably be all right. But they're gonna have to do some tweaks. But
Yeah.
um, because there's only one chapter in there I hate, and that's chapter 23, where you had to run that gauntlet, and that gauntlet lasted like 45 minutes
Yeah.
because it just wouldn't stop.
I'm thinking that the other thing too, they have to maybe figure out something else as well because that game used 3D really well,
Yeah,
and
how you gonna?
I don't know how that'll translate well. And that's the same thing for like Super Mario 3D 3D Land as well. How do you? It'll be hard to translate that to 2D again.
Yeah,
How and by
but
2D we mean on like a
to
non
be
3D
fair,
screen.
to be very fair, that had one of the best online.
Battle,
I love the
yeah.
Kid Icarus Uprising online. That thing was jumping,
Okay.
and I will say this: I liked the idea of Kid Icarus Uprising. It was very fun. The only problem, like I said, the only because I didn't really have a problem with the control scheme. It was
Hmm.
just it did take some getting used to. It's just like Star Fox Zero. It took some getting used to.
Did you buy the dual analog boat?
I had one, but I didn't use it for that. I used it for Resident Evil.
Okay.
I the only thing I knew, the only thing I had the kickstand I had.
Hmm.
I didn't like holding it with I like using my kickstand.
Okay, so you had it propped up, and then you
Yeah,
would just
it just
you
made it
use the
easier.
stylus or you use your finger.
I use stylus. It just made it
Okay.
easier. But yeah, I would love to see that get ported just because the game is just awesome. The
Yeah.
only problem was I felt for people who had issues with it as far as the hand cramps, because it did happen to me on
Mm.
just that one chapter though. That's because that chapter was long as all hell. The rest of the game was like bite-sized chapters,
Yeah.
so it wasn't hurting unless you played for a long time. And there's 25 chapters in that game, totally worth it, totally worth it. So I wouldn't mind seeing it. I just don't know how you do it
Yeah. And if that's the case, then
unless they
un,
rework the entire game. Which, to be
honestly,
honest, I can see them doing that too.
I think that might be the reason they wait for new hardware because then not just because of we don't know what else to do with it, but the fact that you can that would just be that would help be a selling point to say, hey, look, not only is Kid Icarus Uprising coming, but a host of 3DS games are making the journey as well.
The
And
jump as
like,
well.
so now you can have, Samus Returns and some of these other games that definitely should be making the jump to come back.
Tommy Majora's
Honestly,
Mask.
those kind of games, I'm like, just put them on Wii U and do the two screen thing. If they're gonna bring the Wii U thing back, that would be great for something like that.
I would love
Um,
for them to, but I don't know. The only thing at this point, the only thing I really want them to bring back is Miiverse.
yeah,
That's the only thing I really want them to bring back. Give us our old social media thing back, and I please, because I
yeah,
hate going to Twitter and Facebook.
that's
I
true.
hate it.
That's true. It's not
It's not the same.
yeah, not the same at all. I'll deal with whoever whatever people logging on and drawing whatever body parts they want to draw.
Yeah,
And,
and that
and
wasn't
why
even
can't
a
why
problem
can't Metro
until
Scroll
they stopped. That wasn't even
moderating
a
at the end?
problem.
Yeah, yeah. At the end they stopped
Yeah,
moderating. It was stupid, but
yeah, because that's when all the mods they let all the mods go. But I'm like, before then you couldn't do, man. They held. I got to give them mods props. They held it down. Like, oh no, y'all know what the rules is. The second you
yep,
do it, you banned. I'm
yep.
like, thank you.
And they were not playing. And then it really hurts to get banned from a platform when it's your only way to talk on that system.
Yeah. Or you can just do like Shuhei Yoshida did and buy two.
Yeah, that's the only way to get around that.
Because like that's what was funny. She was like, "Man, look, I got banned because I kept putting up PS4 stuff." Like,
Yep.
dude, you do better.
But I mean,
But
if anybody was gonna do that, when you expect him to do that?
yeah, I was expecting him to do it. But then, dude, like, yeah, but I already had another one, so it didn't matter. So he had one till he get banned on, and the other one. So I was like, smart, smart.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
straight
I
up
kind of
hilarious.
respect that actually.
Yeah, I mean, I would have did it. Shoot, bump it. But that's the only thing I really want to come back. I know because it sometimes it kind of feels like they're trying to get away from the stuff you ought to did to try to
Yeah.
force your own stuff, which is actually cool. I don't mind it, but directs and Miiverse is the only thing I'm like, just keep that from now on, or at least for the foreseeable future.
Even if it's not Miiverse, just whatever the new platform is going to be, and
Yeah,
make it
have your
Nintendo.
own social media thing,
Yeah,
please.
make it Nintendo specific and keep it moving.
Yeah,
And
that way, because this, like, and I know why they did it, because a lot of the loud minority was like, I don't want to be Miiverse, I want to be on Twitter and Facebook. I'm like, shut the hell up.
yeah, but you can still post to
Yeah,
Twitter
you can still.
from the
As
Wii
a matter of
U if
fact,
you wanted
you
to.
could actually post to Tumblr, Twitter, and
Yeah,
Facebook,
and Facebook at the same time.
and Miiverse.
It's just
They're just idiots, man. They just dudes just running their mouth to run their mouth, and that's why sometimes I don't feel bad because I'm like, dude, they listen to the loud minority.
yep. Yeah, they do. Yeah, I
So
mean,
hey,
what
it is what it is. But if anything, I see what you're saying. Because I would have thought they would have went on and did that now, at least like some of the top ones, like because I still believe that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask is probably going to get a port over, just because it wouldn't be that hard to port them over. In all
yeah,
honesty, um, but yeah, like Kid Icarus Uprising, I was like, I would love for it to come. I just don't know how you do because you have to change up, you'd have to tweak that control
yeah.
scheme a little bit.
And if they're going to make that significant effort, then they might as well
Just do a new
just
game.
yeah, do a new game. And I'm only reason why I say bring that to a new platform because then that could be a new selling point. I don't think 3DS should be a swan song for Switch.
No,
Um,
it shouldn't. But I don't think we ever getting that. I don't think they're going back separate again.
True, or hear me out here. They continue to do what this system is doing as shown right now, and just have continuity across because that was the whole goal anyway. Was that NX was going to be, well, at least that was my theory anyway. Was that NX was going to be platform agnostic. So it's just whatever the Switch OS is, it goes on whatever
Or
new
whatever
Nintendo
the X.
hardware is
Yeah,
out. Because like the Xbox One looks just like this now. It looks
yeah, it
just like
does.
this menu now.
It does. Well, that was their whole point. Their whole
Yep.
point is to make an ecosystem that so people it'd be seamless.
Yeah, it was great. I signed into Xbox One last week, and I said, "Oh, this looks like my Series A. It's great." And then like everything's arranged the way it needs to be and whatnot. And then
Yep.
I go back to the Series X. I lose nothing. Like everything is where it's supposed to be. So yeah, it said the whole point with Switch was the Nintendo accounts. Yeah, they were moving everything over from
From that other,
Nintendo Network to
yeah,
Nintendo account,
yeah.
and that's gonna be congruent across going to the new system, and they at least confirmed that Nintendo account will be there going forward. So
I mean that makes sense. You
yeah,
want to make something that's the same and not have to keep changing every time.
yeah, and then Club Nintendo will stay the same on the website slash buy stuff side. eShop is still going to be around, so that's good. And then the great thing, which I know is coming, is that your purchases will follow you.
Yeah,
So, and that'll be the first time we get purchases to go from one Nintendo system to another. Now, your balance goes from Wii U and 3DS to Switch, but the games didn't. So now we're
we're getting
gonna
all
get
of it. Yeah.
yeah, where your purchases from Switch will move over to whatever the fuck's new, and that'll be great. So, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what happens, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting week.
Yeah, it was a very interesting week. So we're gonna cut it here, people. Thank you everybody in the chat. I appreciate it. Chanel, Video Game Book Club, Yin Yan, Night Wolf. Who all else we got in here?
Got Brand Smith
Brand.
in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of the normal crew here. We appreciate y'all coming through.
Yep.
Definitely do. So.
So Ton Square, thank you for showing up as well. Do appreciate it. Once again, no podcast Sunday, but we are doing something. Me and Shadow, not me and Shadow, me and Sandstorm are doing a another live tomorrow because we have to talk about something that got brought out on Vicky's Gamer Corner podcast. So that's going to be tomorrow around between 1 and 2 o'clock. So
Man,
just
I might have to hop on that one. Let me see.
it involves Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask,
Eh,
and I'll leave it at that. So,
okay.
but yeah, that's gonna be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. At least that's what the plan is. Hopefully, nothing really changes, and we'll be able to keep that time frame. But yeah, no podcast Sunday. We do have a podcast on the following Sunday. That would be, I think, the 3rd or the 4th of December, and we'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing for the Game Awards. That's going to be on December 8th, and we're going to have a couple of guests come through. I got one confirmed for the live reaction, so I'll try to get a couple more people to see if they could come through, and want to have some of you guys come through as well. So we'll tell you guys how we're going to go forward doing that, and that's going to be about it. So see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then on the following Sunday, I think that's the 4th. I think it's 4th. But yeah, we'll see you guys then. Thank you once again. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends and family if you like what we're doing here, and we will see you guys later. Peace out, peoples.
Happy holidays, guys. Run Steam Deck on macOS.